Drive north into the coal country of Pennsylvania, through the rolling hills and deep valleys, and you'll eventually find a road that simply stops. This is the entrance to a nightmare that hasn't ended for 60 years. The trees are blackened husks. The air carries the biting sting of sulfur. And if you kneel down and press your hand to the cold-looking earth, you'll feel the heat. A slow, rhythmic pulse of a subterranean fire that has already swallowed a town, and it isn't finished yet. This is Centralia, a place where the ground itself is cooking. A town that was officially erased from the map, yet continues to burn with a patient, unstoppable fury. Geologists say there's enough fuel down there to keep this inferno alive for another 2.5 centuries. Long after everyone watching this is gone, Centralia will still be smoldering. But before the smoke and the silence, Centralia was a jewel of the anthracite coal region. Home to more than 1,000 people, it was a place of thriving churches, crowded schools, and rowdy corner bars. It was built on the richest coal seam in the world, and for generations, the families here believed their future was as solid as the rock beneath their feet. It was a community forged in the mines. They knew the dangers of the deep, the cave-ins, the black lung, but they never imagined the fire would come from the surface. In the spring of 1962, as the town prepared for Memorial Day, life felt permanent. Nobody noticed the small spark that would ignite an eternal flame. It started with a routine cleanup. The town council hired 5 volunteer firefighters to clear out the local landfill in an abandoned strip mine pit. They did what they always did. They set the trash on fire to reduce the volume. But this pit wasn't just a hole in the ground, it was a doorway into a labyrinth. The trash pit sat directly atop an unsealed opening to the Buck Mountain coal seam. The fire found the anthracite, the purest, hottest burning coal on Earth. By the time they realized the fire wasn't just on top of the landfill, it had already descended. It was in the tunnels, it was under the houses, and it was hungry. They tried to dig it out. They spent millions on fly ash barriers and water injections. But every time they thought they had it contained, the fire was already ahead of them, creeping through the abandoned mines like a parasite. For nearly 2 decades, the town lived in a state of uneasy truce with the monster under their floorboards. But the fire was growing restless. In the 1970s, the signs became impossible to ignore. Gardens grew warm in the dead of winter. Snow refused to settle on certain streets. In 1979, gas station owner John Coddington lowered a thermometer into his underground fuel tank. It read 172 degrees. The ground itself was cooking the gasoline. Soon, it wasn't just the heat, it was the air. Toxic clouds of carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide began to seep into basements and living rooms. Families slept with windows open in the freezing winter, terrified they wouldn't wake up in the morning. The fire was no longer a secret. It was an occupant in every home. Then, on a cold February morning in 1981, the disaster nearly claimed its first life. 12-year-old Todd Domboski was exploring a wisp of smoke in his grandmother's backyard when the earth simply vanished beneath him. He plummeted into a 150-foot chasm of hot mud and lethal gas. Todd caught a tree root and held on for his life, screaming into the sulphurous dark. His cousin, Eric, heard him and dragged him out just as the ground around the hole began to collapse further. The story hit the national news, and for the first time, America saw the true horror of Centralia. The ground was literally eating children. Suddenly, the world was watching. 60 Minutes arrived, then the national networks. The government could no longer look away. A federal study concluded that extinguishing the fire would cost over $600 million, more than the entire town was worth. The decision was made. They wouldn't save the town. They would erase it. In 1984, Congress appropriated $42 million for a total buyout. But this wasn't a relief. It was a tragedy. It split the town in two. Neighbors who had been friends for decades stopped speaking. Some wanted to take the money and run. Others, mostly the elderly, refused to abandon the only homes they'd ever known. One by one, the houses were razed. One by one, the families left, their memories loaded into moving trucks. The streets began to lead to nowhere. The schools closed. the theaters went dark. Centralia was being systematically deleted, house by house, until only a skeletal grid remained in the encroaching forest. Even the holy places weren't spared. St. Ignatius, the center of Catholic life for thousands, was torn down when the fire moved directly beneath it. Only the Assumption Church, built on a rare outcrop of solid rock on the hill, was spared. It stands today as a silent sentinel over a graveyard of houses. In 2002, the final insult arrived. The U.S. Postal Service revoked Centralia's zip code, 17927. In the eyes of the government, Centralia no longer existed. It was a non-place, a void. But for the 7 residents who legally fought to stay, it was still home, even if the world had moved on. In the absence of a town, a new legend grew. Route 61, the main road in, had buckled and cracked from the heat. It was closed and left to rot. But then the artists came. Over decades, a nearly mile-long stretch became the Graffiti Highway, a vibrant, chaotic monument to the town's memory, visited by thousands every year. But even that was deemed too dangerous. In April 2020, under the cover of the pandemic, the owners trucked in 9,000 tons of dirt. They buried the Graffiti Highway, effectively silencing the last colorful thing about Centralia. Now it's just a long dirt mound, another part of the town hidden under the earth. Today, to walk through Centralia is to walk through a ghost. You can still see the curbs, you can see the sidewalks, but there are no front doors, no porch lights, just the occasional fire hydrant standing guard over a forest that has reclaimed everything. It is a quiet that feels heavy, as if the town is holding its breath, because the silence is a lie. If you listen, you can hear the fire. If you look at the hillsides, you see the vents. The steam is still rising. The monster is still breathing. On cold days, the whole valley seems to smoke, a reminder that the inferno below is just as powerful as the day it started 60 years ago. Geologists estimate that the fire has consumed less than a fraction of the coal available to it. It has moved deep, found new seams, and created its own ecosystem of heat and poison. They say it will continue to burn for another 250 years. Long after the last holdout is gone, Centralia will be a furnace. Centralia is a warning. It shows us how fragile our civilization really is. We build our towns on top of resources we don't fully understand. And when we lose control, nature doesn't just take over, it consumes. It wasn't a war or a storm that ended this town. It was a single, stubborn mistake that we couldn't take back. Some disasters don't arrive with a bang. They arrive with a smolder. They're patient. They wait until everyone has forgotten, until the maps are redrawn and the zip codes revoked. But the fire remembers. If this story got to you, subscribe, because next week, we're looking at the mystery of the abandoned lighthouse in Scotland. Light a candle, stay away from the cracks in the earth, and stay close. We'll see you in the fog.